The Fixed Ops Roundtable community will be no stranger to John Fairchild, the high performance fixed ops coach. And John has helped the launch of the Pinnacle Training Center. And we're about to see a panel on that. And first of all, John, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Hey, thanks for having me, Ted.
John, tell us a little bit about what's coming up and tell us about, what you're doing with Pinnacle for fixed ops.
Yeah, and conceptually, this came across a few years ago from a dear friend and mentor of mine, actually, Jonathan Dawson, who does training Celcology for the variable side of operations. And he came to me and said, hey, would you be interested? I know you live in Georgia. Would you be interested in having a classroom setting availability for your clients? And the idea developed over a number of years, where what has resulted from there is no less than world-class training center that will have all elements from stem to stern for your dealership to train on, whether it be parts, service, BDC, even down to receptionist, of course, sales management, leadership. So what has really been assembled is a top-notch world-class training center for your dealership needs. What I do there is parts and service fixed operations training. And for example, we did the inaugural workshop, 2-day workshop for service managers and service directors. Wow. I believe, since I've been in the car business 42 years and I've held every job in fixed operations, and now I've been on the training side for 20 years. I believe in interactivity. I believe in role play. I believe that if you're expecting your managers and leaders to actually require that their people perform in a certain way, that they should be able to perform that way. And so it's very interactive, and it's a dynamite program there at the Pinnacle Training Center, Ted.
So, John, I could send my managers to you for a 2-day workshop offsite in a professional environment where, if you will, you're putting them through a flight simulator away from the dealership, and you're providing that training. What about my service advisors, John?
Yeah, and similar to that, and then they really go hand in glove, because if we're training your coaches to coach, then right. the recipient of that, the player in the field, is really going to be synchronized with your service management team, and everybody really singing off the same song sheet, so to speak.
Well, you've assembled a great team. I'm looking forward to the panel. And John Fairchild, everybody, leading fixed ops at the Pinnacle Training Center for service managers and service advisors. And John, I can't wait to see the panel.
Thanks, Ted.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And you could not miss on social media during the month of April the grand opening of the Pinnacle Training Center. And what better panel to put together today than the leaders of the Pinnacle Training Center, including John Fairchild, Ali Rita, Jonathan Dawson, Anthony Santangelo, and we are joined by Sean Kingery. Gentlemen, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. John, you have been here many times before. I want to congratulate you and the Pinnacle Training Center on a successful launch. And, John, it wasn't that long ago, just a little over 2 years ago, when all training, as the people on this panel know, stopped and shut down, and all of our calendars went dark, and we didn't really know what to do. But now it has come back, John Fairchild, with a vengeance. And John, so happy that you're leading the charge in fixed ops.
Oh, I appreciate that, and what a poignant thing to say, because actually, what happened during that time when COVID broke out is I've been primarily an on-site trainer in car dealerships, and all of my clients that I'd had for over 12 years, a lot of them told me, do not come back to the dealership. They were worried I might be a super spreader or what have you. And so I spent 62 days in my basement during that time, and really had to grapple with a lot of stuff, and thankfully was able to convert some of my clients to a remote status. And during that time, actually met one of the panel members here previous to that, and got engaged in one of my first projects to come out of COVID on site. And I'll talk to him about that in a moment. But no, you're so right, Ted. Everything changed, and these prior to that, these fixed ops roundtables, just directly prior to that, February 14th, matter of fact, of 2020, was a live fixed ops roundtable.
That's right. You and I were in Las Vegas together, and then the world changed, and we all went online. And so John, you've assembled some amazing talent, and I'd like you to go ahead and John Fairchild introduce us everybody to who's here today.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And what I'm going to do is introduce each person and let them kind of speak to their area of expertise and how it relates here. And so our first person is Ali Rita, who is one of the world's, if not the world's, most accomplished salespeople. Ali, tell us something about who you are and everything like that.
Yeah, man. Oh, thank you so much for having me here today. It's a blessing to be here with an outstanding panel here. So thank you very much. And yeah, man, simply, I'm a car salesman. That's what I've been for the last 21 years, and been very fortunate in my career to have achieved some really nice goals that I had set forth. But 21 years in the car business, been working for Chevy and Cadillac for 10 years now. I'm at my second dealership. I originally started at a Chevy store that closed down in 2010, and I had to kind of start over. And I went to Les Stanford Chevrolet, where I'm at now, and just been at it. So I've been very fortunate to have broken a couple records over that time, which has been such a blessing. 2017 set the world record at 1,582 retail units.
Wow.
So yeah, pretty cool. I hold the monthly record of 209 and
Wow.
the daily record of 32 twice, which is pretty cool. So very fortunate.
Yeah, fortunate is a word, but very skilled also. So thank you for that introduction.
You got it.
And the next guy on our panel I'm going to go to is Sean Kingery. He's the gentleman I was alluding to a moment ago. He's a retail for Step One Automotive. They're in Georgia, Florida, and soon to be Alabama. And Sean and I were introduced prior to COVID. And then when COVID broke out, I kind of got put on hold, and but back in dealerships then. So Sean, it's been great working with you, but tell us who you are and what your passion is.
Sure. Thanks, John. I appreciate it. Yeah, back to the intro. John and I hadn't met. John and I met through a referral, actually, through somebody that we both knew through a Ted Ings connection, and it's small how it worked. And then out of nowhere, once I got on John's schedule, COVID kicked off, and I made a phone call thinking, hey, this guy doesn't know me, but I got to put you on hold. And again, John, I'm not saying because I'm on your panel, but a lot of people would have said, listen, we're out, because we had a complete schedule lined up for all. At the time, I think we were at 13 stores, and now we're at 20. But we had a complete lineup going on. But again, thank you for that, John. John's been with us now for a little over, we got to be going on probably 3 years, John, going 2.5 years. We also sent some people, which I know we'll get into in a little bit, to the Pinnacle, the launch, and we sent some service managers there. But, we're a group based out of Florida. We've got stores in Georgia. And as you said, we've got one in Alabama, a second one coming. And I'm a fixed ops guy through and through, and this is my gig. So this is what I love to do.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Sean. Next on our panel that I'm going to go to is a good friend, dear friend of mine, Anthony Santangelo. And we were talking pregame about the impact that Anthony has really had on all of us in social media. And Anthony is somebody who puts it all out there. He's an all-in kind of guy. And I really appreciate Anthony. And I want to take just a moment to let Anthony kind of tell us his story and something that you're passionate about as well.
Thank you, John. It's always good to see you and everyone in the panel today. I feel very honored to be here with it. September will be 25 years I've been in the business. I spent over 19 years in the trench, as I like to say, serving automotive dealerships. Now I'm in my 6th year as a national sales recruiter and trainer affiliate with Automax Recruiting and Training. Back-to-back National Sales Recruiter and Trainer of the Year awards from Automax, set their record for fixed ops max hire programs last year that I had with over 90 max hire transactions in 1 year with it. So I'm here to serve. I want to try to leave everybody I meet better than how I found them, whether if it's sales training and BDC training, which is obviously my expertise with my front end background, or taking care of technicians, advisors, GMs, accounting personnel, any position in the store from porter to president. We're here to staff that and serve and give back.
That's
And John,
awesome.
John, if I may say, while you have assembled some amazing firepower on this panel, and we're about to hear from Jonathan Dawson, I gotta say that I would not be here on social media if it were not for Anthony Santangelo. Anthony, watching you on your videos on Facebook in 2017 and 18, and watching the work you did do on behalf of Automax Recruiting and Training at the dealership, walking the lot, taking us into the training room, and watching as you actually train these new recruits and preparing them for the car business. Anthony, I got a debt of gratitude to thank you. Because not only myself, you took all of us with you into those stores, and that made a profound difference on this industry. So on behalf of the Fix Ops Roundtable, I want to thank you.
Well, thank you, Ted. I'm very humbled and honored to receive those kind words. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I've definitely felt like I've come out of my shell a lot just because of you too, Anthony. And one thing you mentioned that I want to echo, you said it several times, is that you're here to serve. And I feel like that everybody here on this panel is just that. And so I think that lends very well. Thank you, Anthony. Next, I want to talk about firepower. We have Jonathan Dawson, who is the founder of the Pinnacle Training Center, and really, has helped me in my career and very much to develop into a better trainer, coach, and consultant. And very, very thankful for him. So I wanted to turn the floor over to Jonathan and let him say a few words.
I appreciate the introduction and the opportunity, and as well to you, Ted, and everybody else on the panel. Yeah, I'm Jonathan Dawson, the founder of Celcology, which is selling through psychology. It's a training company that specializes in teaching the psychology behind the sale to dealership team members. We focus on out experiencing the competition and creating raving fan advocates by helping salespeople connect emotionally and relationally to the customer. We believe fundamentally it's a people business. And so behind every website and widget, there's still a human being. And so Celcology is essentially the science and the art of relationship building. And we teach that through the methods that we bring. Now, we created then the Pinnacle Society, and that was myself, Ali, who you just met, and a gentleman by the name of Frank Cornetti. Frank is also a top performing salesperson. I believe his personal best is 1,253 in a year, and I think 154 in a month. He is a Honda salesperson, and much like Ali, he selling retail sales has achieved these amazing heights, these incredible, what we call pinnacle levels of success through relationship building, through marketing, and through changing his mindset and belief system. So I'm the co-founder with Frank and Ali of the Pinnacle Society. That was something we created a couple of years ago for high producing, top performing salespeople. Our slogan is, it's no longer lonely at the top. We wanted to create a community and a family for high producers. And then from that, the birth of that and everything that was just described about what happened with COVID and everybody's being pushed to this virtual world like we're doing now, there became this pressing need. And my clients pressed it upon me and said, John, we've got to get back to workshops and seminars and classes. There's so much value that comes from that format of training and learning environment. So there was a little bit of a pressure from that side of the market. And then I'm a father of a 3-year-old, and being a new dad and wanting to be home with her more often, I realized also that putting a training center in place and creating an environment where people could come to would also maybe take me off the road a little bit, so I wouldn't be hopping on as many flights. And that's where the Pinnacle Training Center was birthed out of a need from the market and a need for me personally to be able to tuck my little girl in at night and do morning routines with her too. And so that's where the Pinnacle Training Center came from, and that's the Pinnacle Society, and that's Celcology, and that's me.
And Jonathan, if I may, where is the Pinnacle Training Center located?
Yeah, absolutely. So the actual building is just a short Uber ride north of the Atlanta airport. It's about a 30 to 35 minute Uber ride from the Atlanta airport. It's in a city called Peachtree Corners. For some of your viewers, they'll be familiar with CBT News, the Car Biz Today News Network with Jim Fitzpatrick. Our training center is like a golf shot away from his building in the what's called the Technology Park up there in Peachtree Corners. And so it's a 5,500 square foot building with the capacity to classroom style seat 120. or to reduce it down to a more intimate setting because it can be partitioned to as small as 15 people, let's say. And it's got the scalability to be able to serve at that level.
So, Jonathan, you really thought it out because Atlanta is a hub. You can get direct flights into Atlanta from anywhere.
Yeah.
And, John Fairchild, just thinking, as a trainer, Ali, a lot of times, living in the Northeast in the wintertime, I've had to connect through Chicago and some of the colder climates. I would always get flights into Atlanta if I had to connect, Jonathan, because I could always get very smoothly into there. And so you're very well positioned, Jonathan, to be able to attract, people year round to the Pinnacle Training Center. So congratulations on that choice.
And that's what we found so far. We've already had for the grand opening and for a few of our classes we've had people from the West Coast, the Northeast, all over Midwest fly in for different events already. Not only is it conveniently located relative to the airport being a central hub, but also there's a hotel that's 2 parking lots away. That's a 5-minute walk, that has a partnership with me at the training center that provides, it's a Hyatt hotel that provides preferred rates. And so it's a really easy experience to come to the training center.
And this seems to be a first because you're offering not just one type of training, but you're offering, and I love, by the way, the psychology. All of us on this panel can relate to that. But you're offering not just the salespeople and managers, but even fixed ops training. And John Fairchild, I would guess that may be something that you offer there as well.
Oh, yeah, and absolutely. I appreciate that, Ted. We actually had our inaugural service manager, service director classes recently, called Managing and Maximizing Every Opportunity. And it was really a crash course on training the trainer. And so what often happens, and the class that we had was very much skewed towards, none of them had ever really been a service advisor. And so during the class, what you want to be able to do is model the behavior, and actually to have some credibility with your staff is to be able to do what you want them to do, right? And so it was really heavily in role play, which an interactive, it was tagged as an interactive workshop, and it definitely was. We had 2 half days of complete role play scenarios, and it brings people out of their comfort zone and allows them to interact in a way that they may not have ever had to interact with. And in fact, I don't think we had I think we had one person who had been a service advisor previously. So it gave them some wherewithal to be able to do that, Ted.
And, Jonathan and John, speaking of credibility, what John just said, you've got the #1 automotive salesperson in the world on your team. And I got to ask Ali, Ali, I'm sure you're extremely busy, with what you do in your day job, but now you've added this to what it is that you do. Ali, give us some background, why now, why Pinnacle Training Center? Give us a little bit of, the insight into that.
Yeah, the best gift you can give yourself is to educate yourself, right? To stay sharp, to stay relevant. And that's initially how this whole thing started. Jonathan and I, we're having a simple conversation on my couch one time when he came in to visit. And, I said, wouldn't it be cool if we can just get like the top 20 salespeople around the country and just have like a dinner, have like a private dinner and just kind of feed off each other and just get some ideas from one another. And, of course, Jonathan doesn't think anything simple-minded, and he's like, well, that'd be a great idea. Let's get Frank on the phone. And we call Frank and we're like, hey, Frank, we have this idea. And he's like, I'm in. I'll bet right away. He didn't even let us tell him what it was. And he's like, yeah, I'm in. Let's go. And it started out as a conversation of saying, how do I become better? How do I get out there with the best in the business and try to improve what I'm doing? And we can learn something every day from everyone. And that was the simple idea of saying, let's just gather everybody and get together and learn. And of course, Jonathan, with his ideas kind of took us to the next level of, saying, let's get the society and everything that we're at today. But, it just started out with wanting to educate myself to become better. And I felt like I have a lot more room to learn. And there's people doing amazing things. Like we talked about Frank Carniti, who's doing an outstanding job with social media. And there's things that I've learned off of him. So that's kind of where it stemmed from, but, never stop learning.
And I got to tell you, Ollie, I was so impressed when I watched Jonathan at the grand opening. Not only did you have a full house for days on end, but Ollie, you were on stage. You were there live in person.
Yeah.
People can come meet you and learn. You know, Jonathan's assembled the best in the industry, and no kidding. I mean, Ali Rita is here in person.
Ted, let me tell you something. The first time that I've ever went to a seminar, the first time that I ever went to any training type seminar, I was kind of forced to go, right? My manager at the time said, "Hey, I signed you up for a seminar." And I'm like, I was doing 30 cars a month at the time. And this is back in 2011, maybe 2010. And I just started at this dealership after the wind down of the previous dealer. And he was like, "I signed you up." And I'm like, no, I'm busy. I can't go. And he's like, no, you're going. Scott Montgomery, my manager at the time, God bless him, because he forced me to go. And he said, "You can't sell another car until you go." And guess what? The seminar was actually at the dealership. It's not like I had to go anywhere. And I was very reluctant to go. And I was never exposed to that type of training yet. So Damian Boudreaux, who was running the seminar that day, who's a phenomenal person, outstanding trainer. So I go to the class because I was forced. And, and he started hitting all the right spots. I mean, he started talking about relationship selling. He started talking about all the stuff that I was doing that I wasn't aware were actual things that I can enhance and get me to that next level. Well, as I'm sitting there, he started talking about this guy that was doing 60 cars a month. And here's me thinking, I'm doing 30. I'm doing good, right? I'm busy. I don't have time for anything else, right? Here's a guy doing 60. And I'm like, if that guy's doing 60, why can't I do 60? And how do I get to that point? So, afterwards, I clinged on Damian like crazy. Afterwards, I pull him to the side and I'm like, "Is all this true? Everything you're talking about, this guy, Greg, he's doing 60. And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "He's doing 60. I'm like, "Well, if he's doing 60, then I believe I could do 60. So they just shifted my mindset, right? Being in this class, being in this setting, having somebody, a coach, right? We could talk about the importance of a coach, having them figure out ways to enhance you as a person. He didn't change me as a salesperson. He didn't tell me, go say this and go do this, and here's a secret handshake. He just made me aware of things that I could be doing. And that's the ability of having a training center. That's what changed my life, going to that seminar. I can't think, if I had not gone to that seminar, where I would be today. I don't think I'd be here with you guys today. So that's how important and that's how passionate I am about having something like that set up.
Wow. And, Jonathan speaks to the psychology of it, but Ollie, you're right. The mindset, and Ollie, if you can share that with more people, John Fairchild, I want to hop on a plane. I want to come down there. I want to see this training, because I think, Jonathan, that Ollie's right. A lot of times in our industry, we were forced to go to training, right? We had to go. But when I watch all of the video now I see on social media with Pinnacle Training Center, Jonathan, everybody wants to be there. Jonathan, they want to be in that room with you and John Fairchild and Ali Rita and Anthony Santangelo.
Well, I think that what really people want is they have in their mind a version of their life that it could be. And there's this gap where I'm at and where I think my life could be. And what people want is, with some degree of confidence, they want a map. They want to be shown a way of getting there faster or easier than what they could possibly do on their own. And so, most people, this is again a fundamental understanding of psychology, is most people's driving forces of behavior is some form of avoiding pain or gaining pleasure, right? This is a basic understanding of how people are motivated. I'm trying to get away from something I don't want, or I'm trying to move towards something I do want. And I think anybody watching this right now, if you're a general manager, if you're a service advisor, if you're, a salesperson, whatever you might role be, you have certain things that right now are bothering you about your life. There's certain agitation points, irritation points, aggravation points, things that if you allow yourself to think about them, you get frustrated. And then you have other things that if you think about them, you hope for them, you want them, you long for them even. These might even be true desires of your heart. And so what I think most of us want is, show me a way to eliminate some of this pain, even if it's just irritation pain. Like, help me find a better way to deal with this scenario, this situation, this customer interaction, this objection that I get, this challenge, this process breakdown that seems to be pathological and always showing up. Show me a way to get rid of some of this. And then show me a way to come closer to these things that I want. Speed up that timeline a little bit for me. And that's what great training, and that's what being around great mentors or great instructors can do for you. It can mitigate and eliminate, eventually even eradicate pain points so that you don't have them anymore. Because I promise you this, watching this, you can take this to the bank. The problem you currently deal with on a regular basis in some other environment, store, situation is not even on their radar. The thing you complain about is at some other store, not even an occurrence. So you have a pain that someone else has solved. And the thing that you desire, the thing that you want, that thing that you're pursuing, someone else has already. And so there is a map, and success leaves clues. And that's why I think, and I'll turn it over to Sean because I want to get his perspective as the guy from the retail dealer side. Sean, you're at the dealership. You have choices as an operator to invest in your people or to not invest, to train your people or to not train them, to let them learn through customer interaction or to let them learn intentionally through proper training. Sean, I'm curious from your perspective, again, going to psychology, I believe that training is first a philosophical commitment before it's a financial one. You make a decision up here first and in here first that I'm going to get better or my people are going to get better. Before you start spending money, you got to decide here and here. Sean, tell us a little bit about why did you send people to John's service class? Why do you believe in training when you don't have to? A lot of people don't.
Sure, John. I think it's multi-layer. We can go back to when we purchased a group out of Georgia. We had stores that had not sent a technician to training in 3 or 4 years. Guys, these cars are evolving, and and this will wind back to what John was talking about, train the trainer, where John and I kind of honed that expression together. But how do you expect anybody to do what they don't know how to do? How do you expect a technician to fix a vehicle that they don't even know what they're working on? How do you expect a service advisor? And to John's point, the 2 individuals that we sent to the inaugural class weren't service managers. One was a warranty administrator and the other one was a technician, which we all know that on the fixed op side is a real tough conversion to do. And it has epic failure behind it, to be very honest with you. And both of them adhere to it. How do you expect them to train their advisors if they don't know how to do it themselves? And the advantage to us in Pinnacle, and the reason that we'll continue, and this isn't a Pinnacle plug, is you can't train on site, guys. You just can't. It's got to be off site. They got to get out of the grind. They got to get out of, hey, I got a client here. Hey, what about this one? Hey, what about that one? And John does a great job with us. Again, we wouldn't have the relationship because there's other people out there, but John is not a vendor of ours. John's a partner of ours. John gets to come to our board meetings. John gets to, when we hire people, and I'll lay this to the Anthony side of it of Joe's company, is when we hire people, John has a say just like we do. We group interview. And if Sean doesn't like him and 2 other people say yes, guess what? We're hiring that person. And that's the partnership we have with John. And that's why when John brought Pinnacle to us, that the off-site side of it is a no-brainer for us. Because you're not going to do walk around training for 8 hours, 2 hours for 4 days, or 4 hours for 2 days on site. It's not going to happen, guys. It's not real. And so for us, training is paramount. And if you don't train, and John's part of it, and again, I meet with Ted a lot and we talk about our partnership at the local colleges. We tell them when you graduate college, if you're not willing to train, don't apply. Because if you aren't willing to continue your training, you will not work for us. Your pay as a technician is based on what level of certification you're going to reach with the manufacturer. And if you're not going to do it, just don't waste our time and don't waste your time. And as we work with everybody, that's one of our biggest areas of growth has definitely been training. And we won't stop there. I promise.
Can I say something on that, Sean, real quick? That training offsite, how important that is. A lot of times, my owners want to have meetings and just talk about business and see where we're going and what we're trying to do. And they're like, "Oh, can we meet at 1 o'clock, or can we meet at lunchtime, or can we meet at noon?" And in my mind, I can't do that because I know there's customers waiting for me. I know there's business down there. I know people need me. So now I like, if we want to meet, we either got to meet after work or we need to meet an hour or 2 before work, because I can't focus on what you're trying to say to me because my mind is not there. My mind is downstairs. My mind is thinking who's here, what customer needs me, and the job that I need to do. So you hit it right on the head because that is so important. And now they're like, okay, well, we'll meet at 7 o'clock in the evening after work, because that's the time that I can actually focus and listen to exactly what they're saying. So, I mean, great point. Sean.
Thank you. And again, Ali, to the point, on a service drive on the fixed op side, you pull the pin on the hand grenade at 6:30 in the morning. It is full speed until 6 o'clock at night.
Right.
And by the way, at 6 o'clock at night, brother, you've been running for 12 hours.
You're burned out too, right?
You're completely burned out. So whatever, you're not absorbing it anyway. Okay.
No,
and again, that's the advantage. You have to go off site.
Agreed.
And I'd like to add something specific to that, and then I want to, if I can ask a Santangelo a question, because he understands training and recruiting, if I may say, more than most people on the planet, because he's been so actively involved in it. But one of the reasons specifically that we put the training center the way we did, where we did, is it has a drive-up driveway. It has a ramp. You literally drive a car into the building. And so one of the things I was thinking towards when I was looking at the space, and now I'm on the retail side, my primary area of focus is retail car sales, sales management, not on the fixed side. But when I was looking to build the center, I knew that there was a pressing need and a significant need for our industry to support and develop and train and raise up the next generation of service advisors, service managers, technicians, and so forth. So I wanted to have a building that would give that true role play scenario that we were talking about. And one thing that was so awesome to see John facilitate at the service manager class was watching them do these role plays and walkarounds and vehicle check-ins and inspections on an actual vehicle in the building while people are walking around it, others observing, and just seeing, again, reenacting that. Because you're right, in a real scenario at the dealership, you can't do that. You can't do that at the dealership. You can't spend 8 hours, role playing at the dealership, but you can at the training center. And so the building is designed to support exactly that. Anthony, my question for you is, you're a facilitator yourself. You're not just a recruiter. You're somebody who teaches teams how to grow and all that. You've been down to the training center yourself. What do you see as the value of that offsite? Because you know when you're doing a recruiting class like you got coming up, or a recruiting rookie school like you're doing, the value of captive audience, making sure their attention span is focused. What do you see in that?
Well, I think it goes back to, and it's a saying I say in my training classes, to change your culture, you must first change your mindset. So I agree with everyone that had said that the philosophy, it starts philosophically. It does before you do it. You have to be all in, so to speak, to be able to want to do it. And Ali's right. When I was in the trench selling cars, to have a facilitator come to the store, your mind is not in that conference room. Your mind's on working deals. It's like, how many deals are you missing? What's going on? Your phone rings, you leave the room, all that and everything. You got to be fully focused on it. But to go back to your question, Jonathan, when it comes to the growth of a people, most dealerships, and maybe not, there's no dealerships that have the budget of the New York Yankees. You got to have developed homegrown talent to be able to build them up. Well, where does it start? It starts by giving them a chance. Now, how do you give them a chance? You give them their time. The best thing you can give someone is your time. And it starts with mastering the art of the interview. And it is an art. You have to know how to interview somebody the correct way. Whether if you're doing face-to-face, I'm on site for sales, or I'm digging and I'm calling technicians and working the phones and working advisors and all that. You have to be able to understand where they're coming from and talk through that with that, and then build their confidence up. So to go back to the sales side, somebody comes in, they see an advertisement online for us, stuff with Automax. Okay, they see the money, they see the opportunity and everything, and they get past the fear to actually show up. And I guarantee you there's people that show up in the parking lot and they turn around. They never walk into the store. I guarantee that happens. But then they walk into the store. Now, what happens most of the time? You're working 2 or 3 deals at once. A third person needs an appraisal. Behind him is one of the ladies in accounting looking for clarification we put in the back screen from a deal 2 days ago. Behind her is one of the ASMs looking for a $1,500 used car safety check. You haven't had your CIT meeting yet. Your DOM's coming later today. Your owner is texting you how many deals you have. And now your receptionist comes up and says, hey, Jonathan, that interview you set up a week ago, Amanda, she's here. Now, what's your response? And all you want to do is have a Philly cheesesteak, So you have to be able to focus on that person and be 100% committed to the art of the interview to grow them into the process. And the whole great thing about the Pinnacle Training Center is it gives myself and Automax an opportunity, and all the facilitators, everybody that Jonathan has hand-selected and hand-picked to be a part of this, to be off-site, to focus on that. And then for myself, when I'm at a dealership, I can only do 1 dealership at a time. That's not the case for Pinnacle. We can have 2, 3, 4, 5 dealerships the same week, all separate ads, and have a larger pool of candidates to find the best quantity of applicants across the country.
Wow. Anthony, well said. And we can all relate to, real world stuff like you're telling us. John Fairchild, if I'm a dealer or general manager or fixed ops director watching this and I want to get that world-class training that's offered by Pinnacle Training for my team, John, what do you do for fixed ops?
Go to, and I would recommend that you do the same, Chad, if you want to come see it, is buy a ticket for our next class Tuesday and Wednesday. Service Advisor, go to www.pinnacletraining.center and choose your class. There's quite an array of options there. But yeah, just come and see us, Ted.
And John, you do the training personally, is that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I was saying, they're extremely interactive workshops. We take people out of their comfort zone and really, and with an emphasis for the service manager class, what it was is actually how to coach. For the service advisor class that's coming up is really what are the daily functions that you must go through every day on a retail sense to get the best customer experience and the best profitability out of what you're doing and be able to serve your client in the best way you can.
I want to congratulate everybody here today. Great success, Jonathan Dawson. You're off to a fantastic start at the Pinnacle Training Center. Thank you so much for sharing this information with us today. And I want to thank John Fairchild, Ali Rita, Sean Kingery, and Anthony Santangelo. You know, not enough time in this panel. We're going to have to come back and do this again soon. So I love it, everybody. So on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, thank you to everybody here today, and a great success ahead for the Pinnacle Training Center.
Thank you. Thank you, Ted. Thank you, John. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Ted.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.